Welcome to another episode of Just Elite. Joining me today is Dina Swift, second place finisher at the Africa semi-finals of this year's game season at FICT 2021. Dina, firstly, congratulations on a phenomenal performance. The outcome that you wanted, or were you hoping for first place?
Definitely hoping for first place. That was definitely the target. I felt I could have definitely gotten first place. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's in a weekend. And if you can't throw your best, you know, then you don't deserve to win.
Did everything go according to what you were hoping for? A lot of things happen behind the scenes. Your body doesn't feel great or whatever. Did everything go according to plan? Maybe not the outcome, but what you did over the weekend?
Everything except probably one workout where nothing went according to plan. But again, I mean, it's how you manage it on the moment, as does every athlete. And for me, it was definitely the salt bike and step overs, where I was expecting a win, and with what I practiced and how it went, I should have gotten a win, but things went wrong, and I just overreached and completely failed in it.
Look, you had a fantastic day one. Both of those workouts completely, obviously, in your wheelhouse. Did that set you up for a positive start, and did you feel, okay, I can possibly take this all the way?
Oh, absolutely. I think anyone with a start, like with 2 wins on day one, is a dream start to any weekend. So I definitely, that put me up for mentally attacking the next 2 days properly. Even knowing, like, I know the third workout, which was Saturday morning's workout, was like my problem child, you know, with the rope climbs. And I know there's been so much, you know, gossip and things going around since 2019 about me and rope climbs. And so that was definitely a victory I took. That meant a lot to me, that I could just get to where I did get on that workout, even stepping onto the platform and fearing my life that I will fail. And I even did. I failed my first rope climb, and going through my mind was like, okay, well, I mean, here we go again. All the practice, all the prep was for nothing, and failing is what's going to happen. But it didn't. My training did show on the day, and I'm very proud of that one workout. Super proud.
Dina, I want to talk about your 2019. You were quite open about what went down for you during that year. And you mentioned gossip. That's the thing about being in the public eye, even if it is the internet, because that is what the public eye means in the 21st century, is attention on social media. And of course, you had the whole country watching. And I personally think that I could see the amount of work that went in to your rope climbs, knowing that what happened. So take us back to 2019. The last time I spoke to you, you were not in that kitchen that you are in now. You were in the UAE. So tell us what happened there.
Yeah. All right. So the UAE, like I've said, didn't work out. I think they are, I mean, like, they're a fantastic group. I know Gemma and Mark from Cape CrossFit, from the Cape, went over now to UAE, and they're having such a good time. So it's definitely from person to person, but for me personally, it didn't work. I just couldn't do what they were asking of me, and train the way I had to train for the games. So in a matter of two months, I moved to the UAE, moved back to South Africa, had a whole disruption in my training regime and going from there to the games. Obviously not knowing really how to manage travel with training, with all of that, the flights. I think that was one of the biggest learning curves that I got from going from South Africa to America, and how to properly set that up. I think that was also a massive mistake in my prep to the games. Was just, we just didn't know. Like, I just did not know what to expect or how to handle flights or prep or anything like that. And it turned into a fiasco, to be honest. So even going 2 weeks up towards the game, supposed to be your 2 weeks of your most important training. And that for me was the worst probably that I had up until that point. And then going into the first workout with just 3 rope climbs, because if you got 3 rope climbs and you can get to the snatches, you would be through to the next round. And I couldn't do the last one where I just tore too badly and I couldn't get back on the rope, and just, literally it was a nightmare from beginning to end.
Dina, I'm sure you don't want to revisit what happened that day, but just take us through. I mean, it's been your dream. You've been working for so many years, and here you are on the biggest stage of them all, and you stand there and you just can't make it happen. It's the first workout, it's the first day, and it's not like the previous years. Not everybody goes through to the next round. Now there's cuts. So what happened? You did the first rope climb, you did the second rope climb, and then you tore.
I did the first rope climb, and as I came down, I slipped. But you obviously, with your reaction, you just grab onto anything. And I did. I grabbed onto the rope, and I just slipped from the top all the way down. And my hands were just torn everywhere, on the fingers, on the palms, on the thumbs. Like, I made the second one, but I think that was purely adrenaline. That was just, getting you up and making you touch the beam. And when I came back down, I couldn't get, it was just too sore. I just couldn't make myself get back onto that rope.
Going through your mind in that moment?
Regret, a lot of regret, a lot of disappointment in myself, in you're standing there and the whole country is shouting for you and hoping. And even at that point, I know even if they don't like you, even at that point, they will still root for you. Like, I know this because, like, I'm a South African. I know how it goes. I know that even if you don't like someone, if they are on that field, you will back them. And I felt like I disappointed everyone, because the athlete that you saw there isn't the athlete that I am. And that was disappointing. It really hurt me. Emotionally, it scarred me with rope climbs for 2 years. So for 2 years I fear a rope climb. And so it took me about 2 years to get over that. And even in fittest, it still affected me a lot. I think I did manage it pretty well, and I got over that fear and got that little bit of confidence that you need to attack a workout. And so I'll take the victories where they came. But 2019 was a very, very tough year for me.
Last question regarding this is, you said it scarred you and you have a fear regarding rope climbs. Is it a fear of tearing your hands apart, looking like you had a fight with a tiger? Or is it just a general fear now?
It's just a fear of failing, fear that I just can't get to the top and managing to touch the beam. The fear of that last, because even though I didn't make the last rope climb in that workout at the games, for 20 minutes straight, I tried. For 20 minutes on end, I failed rep after rep after rep. No, doesn't matter how much blood came down my hands, doesn't matter how high I got up the rope just before the beam. It was a failed rep. And that sort of stuck in my head, you know, that I tried for 20 minutes and I couldn't do it and I still failed. And that stuck with me.
On to more positive things. Well, I can't really say positive because I actually want to chat to you about your 2020, which was kind of a cuck year for all of us. You went to the UAE for 2 months. I went to China for 3 weeks, but we don't have to chat about that. But it was tough for all athletes that not everybody had equipment. I mean, or if you did have equipment, it was limited. When our country went into lockdown, were you quite set up? Because I know you trained at home or wherever you were in lockdown, you posted on social media, you were lifting and so on. What did that do to you mentally again, knowing that, okay, last year was not great, now I have another chance and now this happened?
I don't think it took me as hard as some of the athletes. I think simply because I'm so used to training alone, that training alone at a box or training alone in my backyard isn't much of a difference. So I could get myself to really stay focused and really keep training hard with the equipment I had. And I was rigged out pretty well. So I was fortunate enough to have a pretty good setup at my place. And with that, going into this year was a good, like almost just reset, if you will. Like we resetted everything. We started from scratch and we built everything back up. Even gymnastics, and we started at rep 1 literally and built from there. So I mean, I wasn't as disappointed as some people, maybe simply because 2019 happened. And I was like, so now there's no more pressure. There's no pressure. There's no events. There's nothing I have to do. There's literally just get on the rig, get on the bar, do what this program says, and, you know, go to the next day.
Tell us about the programming that you follow. And you kept on saying we went back. So who's your coach? And I know you do international programming. So how does that work? Do you have a coach here helping you with that programming? Or explain to us how it works.
So my coach falls under the athlete program. It's, you know, like Mayam, like anything like that. Then my main coach who writes my program specifically for me, his name is Mike Curtis. He is actually, him and his team went through to the games, qualified as a team. So they did qualify and stuff. And he writes a program for me daily. There's feedback. He's obviously overseas, so he's not here. He's overseas. He writes daily, and I give him feedback, send him videos, you know, like any online coach would be. I do think, though, that he doesn't have that many personal clients, so his attention isn't really divided that much. So I get pretty good coaching from him.
And that obviously works for you because he's not here, but he's open to communication and available. Yeah.
So we video call and we chat constantly on WhatsApp, and so communication is very good. I mean, like, also it does help that it's not like my second year or third year in CrossFit. So, you know, I know how to snatch, I know how to do all the basic things. So there's not a lot of technical aspects that he needs to fix or help me with, which I think helps this sort of relationship a lot. So I think he's a great coach, and I definitely wouldn't be where I am in my gymnastics, especially if it wasn't for him and his coaching.
Dina, CrossFit-wise, career-wise, job, do you coach? Are you a full-time athlete? Do you work? Do you have the privilege of doing this full-time, or do you still have to hustle on the side?
I have the privilege of doing this full time. I am lucky enough to have my parents sponsor me and backing me on this, and yeah, and very lucky that they are just as into the whole CrossFit thing as I am, which is a blessing. So I can't complain with not having enough time, or not, or having divided like commitments or anything like that. Yeah, so no, full time, just doing this.
The plan forward, will you do this until you eventually reach your okay, let's take a step back. What is the goal? What is the dream? Because I once heard Tiakle to me say, you get people that train to go to the games, and then you get people that train to win the games, and that's two different training styles, and that's two different amounts of attention and hours that you put in the gym. So what is your goal? What is your aim?
Look, even if you ask people around me what's my goal, it's always been to a podium at the games. So it's obviously that it's a massive feat, and it's far away, but I have been up against the girls at the games, and I have seen what they are capable of, and they are beatable.
So do you have like a cut-off time or age where you're going to go, okay, Dina, it's time to step back or reevaluate, or you're going to go until you 65 plus and you're one of our seniors still chasing their dream?
I am definitely hoping that I can still go into the senior years, even if it's competing at the master level or whatever, just because, I mean, that would be for the love of the sport. As far as going up against the women like Katrin and Sarah and Tia and them, like, I think you feel that when, like, my body can't do this anymore, so I'm just going to call it. I haven't reached that stage yet, and I think it's still a couple of years away, but like I said, only time, like, only you can really see this is it. It's, I have to call it.
Well, all of us are rooting for you. I know you feel that you disappointed your country in 2019. I don't think any of us see it that way. And yeah, I think more people are rooting for you than you think. So now it's, you came second, and with the season changing again, not because of CrossFit's decision, but because of COVID, they have this last chance qualifier opportunity for anybody that came in your bigger regions, of 6th, 7th, 8th in Africa, it's 2nd, 3rd, and 5th. So, or 4th. So, are you planning on competing in a week and a half?
Absolutely, time? Yeah. Me and my coach already had a talk about that, and there's absolutely nothing to lose in this one. I think it's going to be a good competition. Just seeing where they are at versus where we are at, it's going to be a good test. Another competition that you can get under your belt, which always helps so much more than just daily grinding. So yeah, definitely going to do it and going to give it my all.
Online versus in-person competition. I mean, FIC this year was the first in-person competition since, I mean, I don't even know what the last comp in South Africa was. It's so long ago. So going from the open, which we're all used to, doing in your box, but you still have people that you're competing with, doing to the qualifier and then semifinals. That if you have to compare the two, because now you're going into another online competition where you're not necessarily going to have somebody to chase. In fact, you had that person next to you, not just one person, your competition that you've been up against in several comps, but with the online qualifier that we have this year, how do you push yourself? How do you go a little bit further and faster than you think you should?
I think it's a very valid thing, and something that a lot of people actually struggle with. For me, I think at even an online comp, you sort of know it's a comp. You need to get back on the bar. You need to get back on the rig, or you need to get done with your next burpee, or whatever it might be. So it's literally more a change of mindset. Like, this is a competition, and if you do not give 99.9%, you're not going to make it. So with training, like, no, it's okay. I can rest my 5 seconds. I can rest my 10 seconds. It's going to be okay. With online competitions, there's nothing like that. Even like the Open, there's nothing like resting. There's literally 3, 2, 1, go until you're done.
Then I want to talk about something else that's recently come up. That's not just the aspect of you being an athlete and pushing a bit harder, but the technical things that come into place when you compete online. So I don't know if you're aware, but there was this huge thing in the week that's still going on, is an athlete that qualified for the games with an online semi-final. She came 5th. She made it. CrossFit announced it twice. It was done, and then something happened, and they said, no, your score was reevaluated, and you got a 20-second penalty, and now she's 8th. Sam Briggs is now qualified. We're very happy to see her go back.
Yeah.
But this athlete worked a whole year, and this would have been her first time as an individual, if I'm not wrong. So with that in mind, having that technical things that you don't necessarily have in the Open. Yeah, it is there. I mean, taping your measurements for a wall walk, or it's there, but I mean, it's not as complicated. So having that stress, do you think about it? Like, is how many times do you read through the description of or the rules of that workout?
A lot. Like, before you even set up for everything, you go through it. Like, I make even sure my judges go through it. I think with my judges, if they do understand all the rules and requirements that they need to know to judge me, I think at some stage I even feel bad for the judge, because the amount of stress even they are on to judge us, because if they don't get a no rep, and they let it slide, it's not just a second or 2 seconds that you might have lost had they called the no rep, but it's like it's like 20 seconds. And I think the only reason why they gave that was because her judge stopped the bar from rolling around. That was it. There was no reps from her side. There was nothing like that. It was literally just don't have the bar roll around everywhere. And so things like that, is on your judge. It was on the judge. So the judge has even more stress than the athlete self. So it does come in, and it does play a big role. But I mean, you need to prep for it. You need to know the rules. You need to know what's expected of you. And literally all you can do is your best at that moment and hope it's enough. I know that even with the quarters, I think I got a penalty on one of the things with the dumbbell cleans. I wasn't extending, and I was like, that's a hard, even for me personally, that's a harsh call, but it is what it is. Learn from it and do better, but it is a stress. It's definitely a stress.
On the topic of Emma Tall, your opinion about CrossFit's decision, and even after they announced it and that video was revised and looked at, and then something happened and decided, no, we're going to go back. What is your personal opinion as an athlete about that call?
I think, look, if I was in her shoes, I would have been really upset, obviously. I think I would have been also going up against them and being like, this is not fair, because it's not. I think they called the qualifier, they called the people that qualified, and there they sort of set a standard, and it's done. What's done is done. If they wanted to review things and go back to things, they shouldn't have said, this is the lineup that qualified for the games, because that sort of put it on paper, that qualified her. If they had an issue with the video, they should have said, they're still reviewing videos and the final scorecard will be released soon. But they sort of, I think personally, CrossFit Games, they they made a mistake on that call. But again, now they sort of have themselves between a rock and a hard place, and they can't go back and recall the recall. You know, how do you do that? So it's a hard call. It was a very hard call.
And looking at because her coach, I think it's her coach, went public on Instagram and on social media, and he was very vocal about his not just disappointment, but called them incompetent and they pointed out in the rules, obviously, we haven't read it, but workout 1, 2, and 3, they said your judge isn't allowed to touch the equipment. Workout 4, 5, and 6, it wasn't mentioned. As an elite athlete that's competed on elite levels, that went to the games, do you think that Emma Toll and her judge should have known that he's not allowed to touch the bar?
I think that's also, it's a very gray area, you know. It's also dependent from athlete to athlete. Personally, I know that if my judges just come close to my bar, I'll push them away, because I know how hectic they are about such things. So for me, it's an attempt, like, don't even step, like, you know where you need to be, and all you have to do is count my reps. I don't want you close here. I don't want you helping with my bar. I don't want you touching my bar, nothing. Just stand there, look pretty, and count reps. And that's how it's always been. And so for me, that's how I would have my judge. I mean, like, even like I sometimes do workouts with Trent, and we went up into the quarters together and stuff. And when I was done with one thing, I'm waiting for him. His judge wanted to go and touch and fix his bar, and I was like, don't, what are you doing? Just step away, count his reps, don't worry about his bar. He will worry about the bar. So even then, I am aware of how CrossFit views judges interfering with bars.
Yeah, like you said, it is a gray area, because you feel bad for her, but being at that level, she should have known. But it is an unfair call.
Yeah, you also told me, like, it was her coach. Even worse than that, her coach should have known. Yeah. So even look, because I saw the little clip that they played when she finished with her last reps or something. He pushed, pulled back the bar for her to just reset and everything. And in my mind, immediately when I saw that, I was like, oh, I wonder if that is allowed. I mean, that was my immediate reaction. So as coach, as judge, he should have known better.
No, it's very unfortunate. I think that's the stress of having an online competition that is so important, because if it's the regionals of 2017, where you have athletes that are fortunate enough to be in a competition set up where the head judge will immediately then walk over and say, no, that's not right, call it, and the athlete would know from there that, okay, you were penalized, where you don't celebrate for 3 days and then only find out. So interesting times that's happening, not just in the world, but in CrossFit, having people qualify for the games in different setups. And it's going to be interesting to see how her appeal plays out, and if anything from that would happen. But regardless, I don't think her supporters and herself, they're going to be very, 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 very happy.
No, I think also like any athlete that is that worked that hard to get to the games, to be penalized for that. It was, like I said, it was nothing she's done wrong. It wasn't a no rep, which you can, almost understand. If it's a no rep, it's a no rep. It's not valid. But it was nothing like that. It was literally an outside thing that affected her, and like for me, it would be heartbroken. Like I would be devastated.
it's interesting to see how far the sport has come and what they actually penalize on now. I remember I rewatched the games when it was still at the ranch. I think it was the 2008, 2009 games. And one of the athletes, it was in the final, and they had to do 30 clean and jerks for time. And I think it was 2008 when Jason Philippa won. And the one athlete, can't remember his name, I apologize, but he did the cleans, but he dropped the bar, it bounced, and he caught it. But all 30 reps, 30 reps. And then Dave Castro said, no, this is not right. And he had a full-on fight on, in front of the camera about how this is bullshit and how can you not allow these reps. And now you're looking back going, dude, are you serious? Like, how can you even think that is okay? But back then, I mean, that was that gray area, So it's interesting. It's bad, but interesting, very interesting. Dina, no, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I think like as the sport gets more professional, these things will have to take precedence. I mean, like we can't, because I've heard that Rosa, the head guy of CrossFit, he wants to have a billion viewers on YouTube and all of that, which is massive. It's big. So if you want that amount of viewership, you obviously need to take somewhere a professional stand and be like, these are standards and this is what we stick with.
Yeah, and they also, unfortunately, they need to hold themselves accountable as well for mistakes that was made with Emma Tall, because it might not be her livelihood, but that's what her life is about. She might not be a full-time athlete, or maybe she is a full-time athlete. And unfortunately, CrossFit is in such an infant sport that the amount of opportunities there are for athletes to actually make an income, it's so small that when you have the opportunity to go to the games and potentially finish in the top 3, make money to continue training. I mean, if you get, I don't want to say robbed, but she was kind of robbed of that opportunity. And if you don't compete and people don't know who you are, you're not going to get sponsors. You're not going to be able to do this for 6 or 8 hours a day. I mean, the repercussions at the end of the day is actually so much bigger than just, oh no, I didn't make it to Madison.
Yeah, just next time, Nation will do it. No, it's not that simple. It's not that easy. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of space for the sport still to grow, and it's very exciting to see already where it is. And I think with new management, with Eric Rosa, I mean, he's only been in office or in charge for just over a year. So I think it's going to be interesting to see, especially this year's games in comparison to last year. Dina, for us, this country, our athletes, we have Jason Smith, which is an exceptional example, who's been at the top and at the top 10 of the world already when he was almost a master's athlete. But the rest of us to follow. I don't want to go big and say the continent, because that's a whole different story on its own. But just South Africa, we've been around for a while. We've sent a few athletes to the games. We've been in the sport for a while. What needs to happen locally for us to be at the level that the States is at?
So obviously, like you say, Jason is already, I think personally, he's a contender at the games. He's amazing. His fitness, his strength, he's up there. Like, and nobody can argue that. And I do personally think that the rest of our guys are pretty close to that. They have a couple things to still, to focus on. And I think that's mostly strength, just because the guys' weights are so heavy in comparison, even with the ladies. It's insane. There's a massive difference between men's weight and ladies' weight, even in competition standards. But our guys they're definitely there, and they're starting to catch up, which is wonderful. And I think, like, even if you look at fittest, Jason did phenomenally well, but it wasn't like he just ran over everyone. you know, and I think that's a good thing for our guys.
It was still a fight. It was still a fight.
Yes, like he had to bring, like Jason had to bring his A game. So that was awesome. I think with comparison to our ladies, is fitness is fine, but because fitness is something it's easy to get better at. I mean, you run or you ride bike or
do metcons,
you know, whatever you do, sprints, metcons. It's the easiest thing to get better at is fitness. I mean, give yourself 4 weeks and you can play around with the best of them. But strength is a massive problem for our girls, massive. And I think if locally our local competitions don't start stepping up with the weights, then our girls will never feature. I think it's not just strength in one rep, it's repetitive. Because like everyone was pretty confident that I would take the lifting event. I mean, like obviously in my mind as well, that was a good workout for me, simply because it was that heavy and it was that many reps. But even in saying that is I won the Metcon workout as the one that was purely heart lung. And a lot of people would be like, no, but it's because I'm so big and because I can row and have such a big stroke and I'm heavy on the bike and I have a long reach on the ski. But that doesn't explain that most of the top girls would keep up with me. And they are all half size.
Yep.
So
yeah, Claire Toomey is
like our girls,
she's this big.
It's literally that big.
Catherine is maybe that big. It's yeah, you can't
maybe like
saying weight and size in the sport makes a difference when it comes to weightlifting. It's you can't say it anymore. You cannot.
It doesn't exactly. So I think our girls need to get it out of their minds that they are small and therefore it gives them an excuse not to. They need to get over that. It is done. There is no size in this sport. You cannot use that as an excuse. And the same, like I know that going into certain like competitions, there's been so much body weight stuff and burpees and pull-ups and toes to bar and muscle ups. And for me, I never give an excuse that, listen, I'm literally 20 kgs heavier than you on each muscle up. And I have to also do the same amount of muscle ups. Like, you know, should I complain because I am big? Like you cannot use that anymore. And I think our girls just use that too often. They're small, so they can't lift that many, that repetition. It's like, stop having that as a thing in your mind.
Yeah.
Like, expect more of yourself.
I think you know, we can't be ignorant in the fact that certain movements in our sport, shorter athletes might be better. Like a burpee. I mean, I'm short. Me dropping down and getting back up, it's a lot less distance to travel for somebody than you. But if you pick up a wall ball, I mean, that is a big difference. But I don't think it's enough for people to say I am small because and then why I did bad, or this is I am short and and small, that's why I cannot lift 75 kgs. I think mindset will definitely play a part there. Dina, listen, thanks so much for your time and good luck for the online qualifier, for the last chance qualifier. Do you guys know yet what's going to happen, how it's going to go down? I know they haven't said much.
Yeah, no, they've emailed us and they only said that after the last weekend of all the online or the competitions, the qualifying competitions, that Monday they'll email us our invites and all the details pertaining to that weekend, and then we'll see what happens.
Have they allocated the weekend? Is it next weekend?
It is. Let me just know. So we can after. Let me just make sure. Because yes, I think it is. Yeah, it's next weekend. Yes. So they have confirmed that weekend as the last chance weekend, and then the 21st we'll get our invites and whatever goes with that, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. See, you did FICT 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You've had plenty of time to rest. Now, if you compete this weekend at the West Coast Classic and in Brazil, and you're going to be fried. You're going to be
completely.
Yeah. Small things that they still need to figure out. I commend CrossFit Inc. for continuing this year, but I think, there's going to be some disadvantages regarding recovery time for these athletes. If you put everything on the floor, it's 2 competition weekends within 5 days. They have 5 days, not even a full 5 days if you start on the Friday. So good luck to the athletes this weekend. If people want to follow you on social media, I know you're very active on social media. Where can they follow you?
On Instagram, Dina Swift. That's the easiest one and the one that's actually mostly for social media, and that's it.
Cool. Dina, good luck. We're rooting for you, and all the best, and stay safe and healthy. And hopefully there will be more in-person comps this year that we can get all our top athletes together.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure, and thank you for having me.
Awesome. Have a lovely day. Cheers.
Yeah, you too. Cheers.